A last hope. The crystalline spires of Meridian Prime, once gleaming beacons of the most advanced civilization in the known galaxy, now stood partially shattered against the violet sky. Admiral Thorin Vex, supreme commander of what remained of the Meridian Coalition fleet, stared through the observation dome at the orbital defense platforms, half of them dark, destroyed in the last Void collective assault. The remaining platforms blinked with warning lights, a constant reminder that their extinction was merely delayed, not prevented. "The Void advances through the Cygnus sector," announced Sub-Commander Ilara, her translucent skin pulsing with anxiety patterns as she projected the tactical display. "3 more colony worlds have gone silent. Our evacuation fleets reach only one in time." Vex's 4 eyes closed briefly in mourning. The Coalition had once spanned 1,200 worlds across 3 spiral arms. Now they clung to barely 90, with more falling each cycle. "The High Council awaits," Admiral Ilara said softly. "The human has arrived." A ripple of disbelief passed through Vex's gill slits. "One? They sent only one?" "Yes, Admiral, just as the ancient texts suggested." The central chamber of the High Council gleamed with the light of 1,000 bioluminescent panels, casting the assembled coalition leaders in a soft azure glow. Representatives from the 17 remaining species sat in curved formations, their diversity once the coalition's greatest strength. The telepathic Orin, the silicon-based Litharians, the gaseous cloud entities of Nebula Collective. All were fragments of once mighty civilizations, united now only by their shared doom. High Chancellor Zara, last of the ancient Quorum Masters, raised her staff for silence as the massive doors slid open. "The emissary of Earth has arrived." The being that entered was underwhelming by any coalition standard. Bipedal, small, barely reaching the shoulder height of even the diminutive Orin, and encased in what appeared to be primitive armor by coalition standards. The human removed its helmet, revealing features that seemed impossibly delicate. 2 eyes instead of the standard 4 or 6, soft skin without protective scales or energy fields, and a frame that appeared fragile enough to snap under standard gravity. "This is what we've been waiting for," hissed Krell of the Draconians. "This is the warrior species that the prophecies spoke of, the one that would turn back the Void." The human's mouth curved upward slightly. "Commander Maya Chen, Earth Special Forces, I understand you have a problem." High Chancellor Zara moved forward. "Commander Chen, forgive our surprise. We expected more of us," Maya finished, placing her helmet on the central table. "Earth doesn't send armies where a scalpel will do. You have warriors, billions of them. You have technology far beyond ours. What you lack is something else entirely." "And what might that be, human?" challenged Krell. "The willingness to fight dirty," Maya replied without hesitation. "The Void Collective has beaten you in every conventional battle because you fight conventionally. You deploy your fleets in traditional formations. You announce your intentions. You follow the ancient codes of war." She shook her head. "The Void doesn't care about your honor." Outrage rippled through the chamber. The Coalition had ruled the stars for 10,000 years. Their military doctrines were refined, perfected, sacred. "You ask us to abandon our ways," demanded Thorol of the Litharians, his crystalline form vibrating with indignation. "I ask you to survive," Maya said simply. "Earth faced extinction 3 times before we reached the stars. Not from cosmic threats or superior species, but from ourselves. We nearly destroyed our own world, our own people. And each time, we survived not because we were strongest, but because we refused to die. We adapted. We changed. We did whatever it took." Before any could respond, alarms blared throughout the chamber. Admiral Vex rushed to the tactical display. "Void scout ships. They've penetrated the outer defense grid. A full battle group follows less than an hour behind." Chaos erupted as council members shouted orders, preparing for evacuation. The Coalition capital had remained hidden for nearly a standard year. Now it too would fall. Maya approached the tactical display, studying it with unsettling calmness. Your orbital platforms are at 30% capacity. Yes, Vex confirmed grimly. Not enough to repel a full assault. You don't need to repel them, Maya said. You need to make them believe you can. Without waiting for permission, Maya commandeered the tactical controls, her fingers dancing across alien interfaces with surprising familiarity. Redirect power from your southern quadrant platforms to boost signatures in the north. Make it look like you're reinforcing the wrong section. Admiral Vex hesitated only briefly before nodding to his technicians. The Coalition had nothing left to lose. Now give me control of your automated defense drones. What followed was unlike anything the Coalition had witnessed in 10 millennia of warfare. The human didn't deploy the drones in defensive arrays as doctrine demanded. Instead, she sent them on seemingly suicidal runs, directly at the Void scout ships, but not to attack. The drones deliberately revealed themselves, fired warning shots that missed by calculated margins, then retreated in apparent disarray. "What are you doing?" demanded Krell. "You're exposing our defensive capabilities." "I'm showing them exactly what I want them to see," Maya replied without looking up. "A panicking enemy, making mistakes, with stronger defenses to the north and weaknesses to exploit in the south." Hours later, when the Void battle group arrived, they did exactly as Maya had predicted. They concentrated their attack on the southern quadrant, committing their forces to what appeared to be the Coalition's vulnerable flank. They never saw the reconfigured minefields until they were in the midst of them. They never expected the Coalition's remaining capital ships to attack from within the planet's radiation belt, where sensors were compromised. The battle was brief, devastating, and for the first time in 2 years, a Coalition victory. In the aftermath, as the council chambers buzzed with shocked disbelief and the first stirrings of hope, Maya stood quietly by the tactical display, already plotting the next engagement. "How did you know they would fall for such a simple deception?" Admiral Vex asked, approaching her with newfound respect. "Because the Void Collective, for all its power, thinks like a predator," Maya explained. "And predators always go for what appears to be the easiest kill. On Earth, we learned long ago that sometimes the only way to survive is to appear weaker than you are in exactly the right way." High Chancellor Zara stepped forward, her ancient eyes studying Maya with new intensity. The archives spoke of humans as a species unlike any other. Not the strongest, not the most advanced, but perhaps the most dangerous. I begin to understand why. Maya's expression remained neutral. This was one battle. The Void still outnumbers you 1,000 to 1. They still control most of your former territory. One victory won't change the war. But it gives us time, Zura said. Time we did not have yesterday. Time perhaps for you to teach us more of these human ways of fighting. Maya nodded slowly. That's why I'm here. But I should warn you, you won't like all of my methods. What I propose will go against everything your civilization values. We are beyond preserving values, Admiral Vex stated grimly. We are fighting for survival. Good, Maya said, her eyes hardening. Because survival is the only thing humanity has ever truly excelled at. And I'm going to teach you to fight like humans. In the weeks that followed, Maya Chen systematically dismantled 10,000 years of coalition military doctrine. She established training protocols that shocked the dignified coalition officers, teaching them to use deception, misinformation, and psychological warfare. She showed them how to fight in ways they considered dishonorable. Ambushes instead of announced engagements, targeting supply lines instead of military assets, using civilian infrastructure as bait. Each suggestion met with resistance, sometimes outright revolt. After Maya proposed using captured Void technology to disguise coalition ships as Void vessels, allowing them to infiltrate enemy territory, Admiral Thorol resigned in protest. This is not warfare, he declared. This is treachery. Treachery keeps you alive, Maya responded calmly. The Void doesn't care about your concept of honor. Neither does extinction. Late one cycle, as Maya worked alone in the tactical center, Admiral Vex found her staring at an old Earth photo, a child with Maya's features, smiling beside what appeared to be an ocean. "Family?" he asked quietly. Maya's normally guarded expression softened momentarily. "My daughter. She was 7 when the void first appeared in our system. Earth wasn't part of your coalition. We didn't have your technology. We were alone." Understanding dawned in Vex's 4 eyes. "That's why you fight the way you do." "We lost everything," Maya said simply. "Our major cities, our orbital habitats, 3 billion dead in the first wave alone. But we did what humans always do. We adapted. We learned. We studied the enemy. And when the second wave came, we were ready." "Earth defeated the void?" Vex asked incredulously. Maya's laugh was hollow. "No. We hurt them enough that they decided we weren't worth the trouble. Not when easier targets like your coalition worlds were available." Her eyes hardened again. "They'll be back to finish Earth eventually, unless we stop them here." "Why did your world send only you?" Vex asked the question that had burned in every coalition mind. "Because I asked them to," Maya replied. "An army would have made you complacent. One human forces you to change, to learn, to become something new." She turned to face him fully. "Humanity's gift to the galaxy isn't our technology or our numbers. It's our refusal to accept defeat, even when victory seems impossible." "And is victory possible, Commander Chen?" Maya's smile was grim. "Victory? No. Survival. Always. Defiance against all odds." 3 months after Commander Maya Chen's arrival, the Coalition achieved what many had considered impossible. They stopped retreating. The Void Collective's inexorable advance slowed, then halted at the edges of what Maya had designated the core defense zone. For the first time in years, Coalition worlds dared to hope. But Maya knew better. "They're adapting," she told the Coalition War Council, gesturing to the tactical display showing Void Fleet movements. "They've recognized our new tactics. They're becoming more cautious, more deliberate." "Is that not good?" asked Zora. "We've earned their respect." "No." Maya's voice was sharp. "We've earned their attention. The Void operates like a hive organism. The scouts we've been defeating. They're feeding information back to the Central Intelligence. They're learning." The Coalition's initial victories have been built on surprise, on the Void's unfamiliarity with guerrilla tactics and asymmetric warfare. Maya had taught Coalition forces to attack in patterns the Void couldn't predict, to strike from hiding, to use decoys and false intelligence. But the Void was patient and intelligent. "Their main fleet is changing course," Admiral Vex announced, studying the long-range sensor data. "They're bypassing our traps in the Centaurus arm." Maya nodded grimly. "As expected, we need to escalate." "Escalate how?" asked Sub-Commander Ilara. "We've deployed every strategy you've taught us." "Not every strategy," Maya replied quietly. She activated a secure data crystal, projecting schematics that made several council members recoil. "This is Project Prometheus, a biological agent specifically designed to target void neural pathways." Silence fell over the chamber. "You propose biological warfare?" Zara's voice trembled. "This violates every principle of civilized combat, every treaty the Coalition has ever upheld." "The Void isn't a signatory to your treaties," Maya pointed out. "And they're not civilized by your definition. They're consuming entire worlds, erasing entire species." "There are lines we do not cross," insisted Thoril, who had reluctantly returned to service after the Coalition's first victories. "Not even to survive." Maya's expression hardened. "Earth crossed those lines centuries ago, fighting ourselves. We learned the hard way what happens when you place principle above survival. You get honorable extinction." The debate raged for days. Maya understood their hesitation. The Coalition had been built on principles of ethical warfare, on maintaining civilization even in conflict. But she had seen Earth's cities burn. She had watched the void ships descend on defenseless colonies. She knew what awaited if they failed. In the end, necessity prevailed over principle. Project Prometheus was approved, though many council members could not meet Maya's eyes afterward. "You judge me," she told Zara after the final vote. "You think I've corrupted your people." "I think," the ancient chancellor replied carefully, "that you have shown us a mirror we did not wish to look into. The question that troubles me is not whether we will survive, Commander Chen, but what we will become if we do." Maya had no answer for that. The deployment of Project Prometheus was scheduled for the next major void incursion. The biological agent, designed to disrupt the neural connections between void units, would be delivered via modified drones that could penetrate void ship hulls. But the void struck first. They came not in their usual formations, but in a massive concentrated wave, thousands of ships emerging simultaneously from jump points throughout the core defense zone. Not probing attacks or scouting parties, but a committed, all-out assault. "They've learned," Maya whispered as the tactical displays filled with enemy signatures. "They're hitting everything at once, so we can't redeploy." Meridian Prime's defenses activated automatically. Throughout the system, coalition ships scrambled to defensive positions, but Maya saw immediately that it wouldn't be enough. The Void had committed their entire fleet, sacrificing subtlety for overwhelming force. "Evacuate the council," she ordered. "Get your leadership to the backup facility on Proxima II." "And you?" Admiral Vex asked. Maya checked her tactical armor. "I'm taking a team to the primary defense control center. If we can't hold them back, we need to ensure Project Prometheus is deployed." "That's a suicide mission," Vex stated. "The defense center is already under heavy assault." "Probably," Maya agreed with a grim smile. "But humans specialize in suicide missions." The journey to the orbital defense platform was chaos. Maya's shuttle dodged debris and enemy fire, weaving through the battlefield with the kind of reckless precision that had become her trademark. With her was a small team of coalition soldiers who had trained directly under her, the ones who had most thoroughly embraced her human methods. "Remember," she told them as they prepared to board the damaged platform, "the Void thinks in patterns. Move unpredictably. Strike where they don't expect it. And no matter what happens, make sure the package reaches the deployment chamber." The coalition soldiers nodded, their eyes showing a hardness that hadn't existed before Maya's arrival. They had learned well. The battle through the platform's corridors was brutal. Void infiltration units had already breached the outer sections, their biomechanical forms more adapted to close-quarter combat than previous encounters. Maya led from the front, her Earth-manufactured rifle cutting through Void units with practiced efficiency. "They've evolved their ground forces too," she calmed to Vex as her team fought through another blockade. "Smaller, faster units. More independent thinking." "The main fleet has broken through our outer defenses," came Vex's grim reply. "Estimated time to planetary bombardment, 17 minutes. Maya knew what that meant. Meridian Prime, the last true coalition stronghold, would fall. Billions would die, just as they had on Earth. Unless... "Status of Project Prometheus," she demanded, ducking behind a barrier as void energy weapons superheated the air around her. "Ready for deployment, but the targeting systems are offline. Someone needs to manually calibrate from the primary control hub." Maya checked her team. Half of them wounded, 3 dead. The control hub was still 2 levels up, through the heaviest concentration of void forces. "Get the council out," she ordered. "Make sure they reach Proxima II. I'll handle Prometheus." "Commander Chen." "That's an order, Admiral. Humanity sent me because we've faced extinction before. We know what it takes to survive it." She paused, then added more softly, "Tell them Earth was honored to stand with the Coalition, even at the end." Maya didn't wait for a response. She shared a final look with her remaining team members, saw the understanding in their alien eyes, and then they were moving again, fighting their way upward through the station, corridor by corridor, room by room. The control hub was a circular chamber dominated by a massive holographic projection of the battle. Maya sealed the doors behind her, buying precious minutes, and rushed to the Prometheus deployment console. Her fingers flew across the alien controls, systems responding to her authorized codes. The biological agent was loaded into specialized delivery drones, each one programmed to target a different Void command ship. If even half of them reached their targets, the neural disruption would cascade through the entire Void fleet. "Targeting matrix established," she reported. "Prometheus is armed and ready." On the holographic display, she could see the Void ships entering bombardment formation around Meridian Prime. Evacuation ships streamed from the surface, some making it to jump points, others being cut down by Void interceptors. Maya initiated the launch sequence, watching as hundreds of specialized drones departed the station, cloaked and shielded, on intercept courses with Void command ships. That's when the console flashed a critical warning. The neural disruptor required a synchronization pulse, a precise quantum signature that would activate the agent across all delivery points simultaneously. Without it, the Void could isolate and contain the contagion. And the synchronizer was damaged. Maya stared at the diagnostics, the solution crystallizing with cold clarity. The synchronizer needed a direct neural interface, a living mind to channel the activation signal. A human mind. She thought briefly of Earth, of the daughter she'd left behind, of the promise she'd made to return someday. But some promises couldn't be kept. When Admiral Vex reestablished communication with the platform, Maya's voice was calm. "Prometheus is deployed. Activation in 3 minutes. We're detecting a power surge in your location," Vex said. "The platform's reactor is destabilizing." "A necessary diversion," Maya replied. "The Void focused on me, not the drones." Understanding dawned in Vex's voice. "You're using yourself as the synchronizer." "Maya, that level of neural feedback will kill me." "Yes." She watched the countdown timer on her display. "It's what humans do. Admiral, we find a way, no matter the cost." "The Council is safely away," Vex told her. "Your sacrifice will be remembered." Maya laughed softly. "Don't memorialize me. Admiral, learn from me. Teach your people what humanity taught mine, that survival isn't about being the strongest or the most advanced. It's about being too stubborn to accept the end. It's about fighting when every logical calculation says you should surrender." As Void forces breached the outer doors of the control hub, Maya connected the neural interface to her tactical helmet. Pain lanced through her consciousness as the system linked with her brain patterns. "Synchronization at 80%, she reported, her voice strained. Through the observation window, she could see Void ships beginning to realize something was wrong, breaking formation, attempting to communicate warnings to each other. Too late. "There's something else you should know about humans, Admiral," Maya said, watching the drones reach their targets. "We don't believe in no-win scenarios." The synchronization pulse activated, channeling through Maya's consciousness, amplifying across quantum frequencies that connected the dispersed Prometheus agents. Throughout the Void fleet, command ships suddenly faltered. The neural network that bound them together fractured, disrupted by the tailored biological agent. Ship by ship, the Void collective lost cohesion. Vessels drifted out of formation. Some fired on their own allies in confusion. Others simply shut down, their crew unable to maintain the neural links that controlled their systems. On the platform, as fires spread and systems failed around her, Maya Chen watched her final victory unfold. The neural feedback was destroying her brain by increments, but she held on long enough to see the Void fleet collapse into chaos. "It's working," she whispered. "They're breaking apart." "Coalition forces are engaging," Vex confirmed, his voice thick with emotion. "The Void ships aren't coordinating. They're vulnerable." Maya smiled faintly as darkness crept into the edges of her vision. "Remember what I taught you. Don't give them time to adapt. Don't fight fair. Hit them while they're down, and keep hitting until they're gone." "We will," Vex promised. The Coalition will remember Earth. We will remember you. Remember all of us, Maya corrected, her voice fading. Remember that humans never learn to accept extinction. We always find a way. The neural interface overloaded. The platform's reactor reached critical mass. In a final, blinding moment, Maya Chen joined the stars she had traveled so far to defend. But her legacy endured. 1 year later, on a reconstructed observation deck on Meridian Prime, Admiral Vex and High Chancellor Zara watched as a small, unremarkable vessel approached from the jump point. Not a warship, but a diplomatic transport bearing the insignia of Earth. They sent more this time, Zara noted, watching the shuttle dock. After what Commander Chen accomplished, they were eager to establish formal relations, Vex replied. She showed them, showed all of us, what was possible when different species fight together. The doors opened, and a delegation of humans entered. Diverse in appearance, but sharing that same determined look that Vex had come to recognize in Maya's eyes. Admiral Vex, the lead human, greeted him, extending a hand in the Earth custom Maya had taught him. I'm Ambassador Eliza Chen. My mother spoke highly of you in her transmissions. Vex's four eyes widened in surprise as he carefully took her hand. Your mother never mentioned. Ambassador Chen smiled, the same smile he remembered seeing in Maya's rare unguarded moments. She wouldn't have. She was focused on the mission, but she sent messages when she could. The woman looked out at the rebuilding Coalition world below. She told me that she'd found another civilization worth fighting for. She saved us, Zara said simply. At great cost. The cost of survival is always high, Ambassador Chen replied. But as my mother used to say, humans specialize in survival, Vex finished. And as they stood together, representatives of species that had nearly been extinguished, the stars beyond the viewport seemed a little less dark, a little less threatening. The void still existed in the farthest reaches of the galaxy. The war wasn't truly over. But now they fought with humanity at their side. And if there was one thing the universe was learning, it was that humans never, ever stopped fighting.